Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're talking about pros and cons of credit cards. Cash versus credit. What do you do? There's all kinds of opinions out there. Today I'm adding mine to the mix, and I want to do this in a practical way, not just theory. Let's break some concepts down for you to have information at your fingertips to make the decision for yourselves. I'm going to talk today about those pretty much three angles. What if you did cash only? What if you did credit only? And what if you did mix of both? Pros and cons. I've experienced all three angles of this on my financial journey. I've intentionally paid attention to my habits and my rhythms, and if that helps me or hurts me in those times when I'm doing it different ways. And I will fully disclose, I went on the Dave Ramsey journey and I did not use credit cards for several years at a point in my life. So I'm going to share a little bit about my insights during that time. I'm also going to share what we currently do now in our household, and you decide, how is this helping or hurting you hit your goals? And we're just going to take a hard look at it and let's talk about some of these things. So I have some notes down below the screen here. You'll see me refer to them because I want to make sure I talk about these points, but I'm going to try to keep it short and to the point. So the first thing I want to talk about is the myth or the argument, like, I do it for the points. I don't want to get off credit cards because I get points for that. That's true. Credit card companies often offer 1% to 2% standard across the board, the default rate. And they also structure some offers where, depending on the category or the cycle, you can get maybe 3 to 5% cash back. Again, every credit card company is different. So we're going to earmark that topic for a second, that fact or that statistic, because on the other side of it, when you use a credit card, statistically, people tend to spend 12 up to 30% more on their spending when they have the ease and the convenience of a credit card. McDonald's, you can fact check me on this, was the first company, I believe, to go credit card, to allow credit cards in their transaction systems, because they knew that people will spend more, and their average spend per customer went up when they freed up the registers to take credit cards. I don't think they did that by accident. So you do the math on that. 1% to 2%, you see that check come back, or it's fun. It's like a dopamine hit when you see, hey, I earned some rewards. You're paying off your credit card bill that month and you see, hey, you have rewards. Do you want to cash them in? You can get credit towards your statement. You can get a check in the mail. You can get a deposit to your bank statement, so you feel like you're winning. But let's do the math. Let's take it to the extreme level. If you spend $100,000 in 1 year, that means $1,000 to $2,000 is coming back to you in rewards. And if you apply the math on the overspend potential, you might be actually overspending by $10,000, $12,000, up to $30,000. Again, I'm taking an extreme example just so you can see the ratios. Is that 1% to 2% offsetting the overspend? Most often, if you stopped and did the math, no, because that's leading me to my next point about what's your measuring stick. If you're not going into the month with a plan on how much you're going to spend on a certain category, so let's use groceries or transportation, like your gas and things like that, daily transportation. Great examples, because those are variable. It's not, your life doesn't land in perfect increments every week. Sometimes your eating rhythm or your travel rhythm is different. So it's not always easy to just split the month up in perfect 25% increments. So when those consumables ebb and flow during the month, it's so easy towards the end of the month, if you're trying to stick to a certain number, like, I really only, if I stuck to my budget, would have enough to put $20 in the tank, but to fill a tank, it's $45. So I'm just going to fill it because it's convenient. It's so easy to make those trade-off decisions. So the thing with credit cards, so here's a con when it comes to credit cards. So we'll chalk up points as a pro, because basically you're getting some money back for that. The con is you also overspend. The con with a credit card is they don't help you set your budget limits, do they? They tell you what you can spend, but they don't make that relative to your household budget, to your personal goals. They might give you a spending limit of 10 grand. They might give you a spend limit of 2 grand. And what if your grocery budget is $1,000? Who's holding you accountable to that? And it's really a budget. That's why there's freedom in knowing like I've thought through my monthly finances and I've set an amount that will help me hit my other targets. So it's great if you have it. Sure, you can definitely pay off. A lot of people can pay off their bills in total at the end of the month. It's not a question of can you pay your bills off sometimes, but it's what did you sacrifice in that category that stole really from another savings goal that you had. You might have a much more important goal that it slips through the cracks because you don't feel those things as you're going about your day in the month. When you're swiping that credit card, you feel it if you do the math at the end of the month, but a credit card doesn't help you stick to your budget unless you have the discipline. So I'm going to say another con is you have to be more disciplined with a credit card. And statistically speaking, just looking at the United States alone, we are not that disciplined when it comes to credit card spend. I looked up the stat the other day, and it'll vary depending on where you look, but let's just use broad, approximations. About 45% of United States citizens who have a credit card balance don't pay it off every month. So that's almost half. I got really formal with the United States citizens. I just looked up the stat. On average, how many households in the United States carry a credit card balance? And it just said about 46%. So I'm just trying to give you some numbers to digest so that you can understand these concepts or just think about these concepts. I'm not a financial advisor. So I'm sharing a real life experience. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm giving you some information to think about and decide for yourselves. So when you think about all those things mashed up together, you're actually set up when you're using a credit card to overspend. Chances are, statistically speaking, you will spend more than you planned. When my husband and I, so we've been married for 3 years now. I'm date stamping this, but we are aligned in how we think about our finances, which is cool. So leading up to this even, I had been on a debt-free journey before he and I had met, and I was out of debt and off credit cards completely because I needed the discipline in my life. And when we got married, we were also completely debt free, and we chose to not use credit cards for a season because we're like, you know what? We want the discipline. We want to hit these goals, and credit cards make it too easy for us to compromise those goals. So case in point, so I'm giving you both angles, completely cash. The argument against that is, well, you're at too much risk. What if something happens to your card? Your money's all at risk, and it's not. If you go to a bank and credit union, they're insured for $250,000. Most people aren't carrying $250,000 cash balances in their bank accounts. So they will back you up just like a credit card if you swipe your debit card as credit at the terminal. And if you get hacked and things like that, they will protect you just like a credit card. So I'm going to bust that myth too. We went on our family trip overseas a couple years ago. No credit cards in our name whatsoever. We only brought our debit cards and cash, and we did the entire thing, no problem. We actually rented a car too. So I'm busting that myth that you can't do life on just cash. We did it, I think, for the majority of it's like 2 or 3 years. And I'm going to get to that third option of the hybrid approach and why we do a hybrid approach right now. Because I want to give you a full lens into all these things for you to think about. What I will say too is, with regard to the points and that kind of thing, if you like the idea of staying disciplined in the areas of your budget that have the variability, food, transportation, personal spend, but your bills are consistent, I strongly urge you to look at how you spend, and bill pay should be a pretty standard process every month. Most of your bills are going to be about the same unless you have utilities that are not on a budget plan. If you have in-app spending for maybe some of your streaming services or subscriptions, that can be dangerous because you can nickel and dime yourself to death. But generally speaking, you can get to a place where your credit or your monthly bills are, for the most part, stable. And if you're in a place where you know what you're expecting, yeah, maybe I would make that argument that that's a place where you could set it and forget it with your credit cards, but don't just forget it. I'm using that as a general term. You want to go in every month and see that you got billed what you were expecting, measure that against your plan, and make sure that what you expected to happen did happen, because oftentimes you'll get a renewal. Internet and phone, they're so easy when you have a promotional period where all of a sudden that promotional period ends and your bill goes up $20 or something like that, or your car insurance goes up and you're like, how come my car insurance just went up $150 for the year? You have to look at what's happening every month, because if it's out of sight, it's going to be out of mind, and you'll find yourself off target, off course a little bit. Just like when you're on a trip somewhere, a plane or a boat, if it's off course just a little bit over time, it adds up big. So you want to still stay accountable to what you're doing in your own personal financial life. Don't delegate that. Don't subcontract that out, I guess is the thought I'm thinking. Don't delegate the financial responsibility of your household off to anybody else while you're taking control of your finances. It's you who sets the limits. So putting boundaries in those areas is going to help you. It's not easy, I will definitely say that, but it's always worth it. But putting boundaries in the areas that you are used to not having boundaries gets a little bit uncomfortable. So you have to always raise your vantage point to why you're doing it. If you have to put boundaries in place that make grocery shopping a little more uncomfortable at the end of the month, where you're limiting yourself to a specific spend, and it hurts to say, we usually put fruit snacks in the kids' lunches every single week, and we don't have enough to buy it in the wholesale store this week. Maybe you go and buy a smaller box. Yeah. Are you getting the full bulk discount price? Maybe not at the regular retail store, but you're making little trade-offs to help you stay on target. And then you start to feel those successes, because then at the end of the month, you look back at how you spent your money and it's a lot closer to your plan. You never get it perfect. The budget is the plan. You're never going to land exactly penny to penny, exactly how you planned on getting it, but you have a plan for if you have a little extra, which is the goal. Where's that extra going? It's never miscellaneous. It's never like, if we have extra, you have a plan for your categories and you're trying to stay under that plan. So I want to bring this full circle. I said that my husband and I have a hybrid approach. And what we do is, if you have seen any of my past videos, I'm obsessed with helping people get to a point where they can pay their house off faster, because it's one of the biggest debts that we carry. Student loans is up there too, but there's an approach that I take, and it's very effective when you can float your expenses to the end of the month. Credit cards are the one tool that help you effectively do that in bulk. I would say you can put your bills on credit cards and float them to, you put your payment date at the end of the month, and instead of racking those bills up or paying those bills sporadically throughout the month, you can just push them all off to the end of the month. We religiously pay our bills off every single month. And because our normal bill pay took up such a big chunk of that expense, we do put our bill pay on credit cards. And I have a reconciliation. I'm going to be building a course around this, how we do our monthly finances. We reconcile every single month. I check, make sure that what was expected happened. But we intentionally keep our groceries and household, that's a combined budget, our transportation for pretty much gas and oil, and our personal spend, we keep those out of our checking account. Because when we did the math and we looked at the little bit of interest that would accrue that we could save with the process that we follow, it wasn't worth it to us, because we felt and have confirmed that we do overspend when we have the convenience of credit cards in those areas. So for us, it wasn't worth sabotaging the overall goal for what appears in front of our nose to be a good bargain for points. And it helps us stay accountable, because every single month when either one of us are out grocery shopping, we literally pop up our bank app. We both have access to the same checking accounts in our gas our gas and transportation, our food and household, and our personal accounts. We have kind of like an unspoken agreement where we both give each other access to our personal accounts, but we don't like to go peeking because that's where we get to do our surprises for each other, because we still want the spontaneity of gift giving, and we don't want to have zero mystery in our lives, in our marriage. We like to give gifts, and when we give gifts to each other, we want it to be a surprise. So we give each other permission for transparency, for trust and accountability, but I don't go jumping into his account and he doesn't go jumping into mine, but he knows he can at any point in time. That's our accountability to each other as a married couple. This works so good. It's one of the biggest tips I give. I say biggest tips. It's one of the most effective tips I give in my coaching. People get that idea and it works because it's so easy to implement and it doesn't take a whole lot of extra work. You just fund those accounts separately with your paycheck and you're done for the month. Everything else stays in your checking account and you pay your bills out of that. But don't forget, you're going back to reconcile. But at least when you pull that noise out of your main checking account for your groceries and household, for your transportation and gas, for your personal, you're getting the death by 1,000 cuts. All those extra transactions are not making noise in your bill pay checking account. So it's easier to kind of go through the month. You can go out, leave your spreadsheet behind because you've already put the budgets into your checking account, the budgeted amounts into your checking account in those categories, and you can go do life because you're checking your budget as easy as hopping into your bank app and saying, what do I have left? Cool. You're not waiting for transactions to post. Sometimes there's a delay on budgeting apps. So when we used to use Mint, and unfortunately when that went away, because that was a free app, you can also use Every Dollar. Dave Ramsey has an app that works pretty good because you're feeling and moving each transaction. So that's a great app also if you actually just like a centralized budgeting app. But when Mint went away, I made these couple changes and it worked so well, I didn't bother going onto a budgeting app again because we found that this helped us stay accountable. So it works for us. I would love to hear from you what works for you. Please jump in and tell me in the comments, share with this community what you do to stay on budget. I want to give you some devil's advocate thoughts around pros and cons of credit cards. I would love to say, so I went through the whole Dave Ramsey, not just the Financial Peace University. I went through the coaching certification and I wholeheartedly believe in the principles that get you back on track. These are principles that work so well. I went through all the baby steps, rapid pace in 3 years, a little over 3 years. I went through those baby steps. That was a catalyst. A huge part of my financial journey was Dave Ramsey principles. That got us to a point where we're like, okay, now we're making some decisions based on discipline that we've established in our lives. And we're now moving forward, not bouncing back up and down in the debt cycle and just struggling to get by with our day-to-day. So I am full disclosure, that is an area where I've shifted my approach, particularly because of how powerful it is to pay off your house utilizing credit cards once you have that discipline in place. I never ever walk any of my clients through this process if they are not disciplined in their daily budgeting life. But this is a powerful way to bring that discipline back into your life. Give yourself accountability. Stop spending on those credit cards. It's not easy. It is not easy because it's so convenient. That's why it works. So I just want to tell you, I know I've lived out those 3 different scenarios. So if you're struggling to hit your goals, I'm wrapping it up with this. If you're struggling to hit your goals, think about your credit card spending rhythms. Is it working for you? Are there things that you could bring discipline back into your life with? Yes, if the bill pay is more convenient with credit cards, you could think about that. But I warn you, those things that are easy to overspend on, in-app spending and groceries and household, the variable consumables throughout the month, those are the areas where you're going to find yourself slipping. So if you're going to keep anything on credit cards, consider keeping the items that are fixed, that are predictable, that you don't have a problem staying accountable to because they're the same every month. Okay? That's a lot to chew on, but I wanted to dump it all in here for you to think about. You can replay this, put me in your pocket and replay it at another time. You can always reach out to me, Leah, Leah, at moneywisemom.com. If I can give you any personal guidance, I certainly will. I do coaching. That is what I love, is walking people through taking control of their finances. It is so empowering when you see somebody get the confidence that they can take control of their finances and hit the goals that mean more to them, and they just don't know how to get out of the mud right now. So I love walking people through that. I have a website, moneywisemom.com. You can jump on there. There's a contact me button there too, but you can browse around, find out a little bit about my journey, and see that I'm walking the talk. I've been through it. So this is not just theory. I've been there. I've done that. And I know how painful it is to try to get yourself out of the mud. So you're not alone. And let me know how I can help. Get in the comments. Let this community know how you're doing it. And I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, bye for now.